Okay. I guess it is working now, which is very good. Cool. Hello everyone. This should be actually up on my channel now. I'm gonna check and make sure, because I accidentally was streaming with the wrong encoder key. So let's see. Yo, hello kings. Welcome to the Game of Thrones. You are ready to participate in the Game of Thrones and try to become the, yes, the king or the queen. The kings, yes. That's your username. That's fun. Yes, so I was accidentally streaming to the wrong place for probably about like 5 or 6 minutes, which is not fun. But anyway, today's video, I actually completed the Game of Thrones. Yes, and obviously if you have not watched the Game of Thrones yet, then I guess that is most likely, yes. Okay, give me a second, I gotta actually rearrange this, so I can actually see chat. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think this will be okay. I think this will be okay for today. But yes, I too prefer Lord of the Rings as well, but I did really enjoy Game of Thrones. I watched like the whole 8 seasons basically. I wasn't actually too disappointed with how season 8 really goes. I'll just rate the characters by vibe. Okay. Well, I am going to get into pretty heavy spoilers in this, I would say, in terms of like who the characters are. I'm not really talking about the plot too much in this video. But yeah, basically, this is going to also be edited into YouTube video eventually. I just didn't have time to mess with that today. But what we're doing in today's video is we're breaking down, I guess, some of the things I liked about Game of Thrones from a Christian perspective, and some of the things I did not like about them. But I'm also going to be talking about some of the lessons I think we can learn from a show that's as dark as Game of Thrones. Because the show is a very dark. There is a lot of like explicit, uncensored type scenes basically throughout the whole series, whether that be violence or just like degeneracy, I guess you would say. So there's a lot of that. But even through that, there's still some very strong, good characters that are overall, I would say, good role models, or like demonstrate certain aspects of, I guess you would say, Christ-like living. So yeah, once again, this is a spoiler warning. But yeah, we're gonna start off by talking about, basically, I would say, some of the main things that I liked that the show shows. So pretty much first off, this show actually shows a lot about like warfare and how like jealousy can get people to basically seek out what others have, I guess you would say, because throughout the show we have a lot of characters that they're basically trying to become king, so that's pretty much the whole point of it. And they're doing things behind each other's backs. They're like basically sending assassins to kill people. They're like poisoning drinks and that kind of stuff. They're basically killing off each other one by one until we get all the way to season 8, where there's hardly any of them left in reality, and many of the kingdoms have been devastated. Pretty much all the kingdoms in the show, which there are 7 different kingdoms, but then there's like other small like houses and other small like castles and that kind of stuff that are around the show as well. But yeah, pretty much it just devastates like the whole entire continent, which is pretty crazy if you think about it, that at not one point like were they like, okay, well, we're gonna have like a lasting peace. Basically, there was always so many sides flopping all the time, so many people helping out each other just to like backstab each other and that kind of stuff. It's very common in the show, which I think shows like the moral lesson that like we really should not as Christians be in things for our own gain, but rather to actually like help other people. And if we give our word that we will help somebody, that we're not just going to bend it towards our own, I guess you would say, ends, I guess you would say, or like be like, oh, well, I'm only going to do this as long as it's actually benefiting me, which is pretty much what a lot of Christianity is about as well. So as for like some of the characters in terms of like how much of a role model they can be, there's not really any perfect characters in the show. Like even some of the characters that I really like the best, like Tyrion Lannister, who is basically the dwarf. Jon Snow's pretty cool as well. And I think, who else did I like the best? Who else did I like the best? I did like Varys a good bit. His character is very good. I think overall Varys is a good character, like pretty solid role model, I guess you would say, in terms of like how he's thinking about things, how he's thinking about the war. However, he still isn't even perfect at all. Because like yeah, he's basically in it for what he views as like an ideal utopia, which is I guess what you would say some of the characters in the show are basically viewing things about. But yeah, overall, can Christians really watch this show? I would say you can watch the show, but I would also recommend doing what I did when I was watching the show. And when you do get to some of those scenes that are, I guess you would say, like morally wrong, I guess you would say, you pretty much can like skip through them or like not really be looking directly at the screen, that kind of stuff. Like you know what's going on, you don't have to like see everything that's going on, I guess you would say, which I will say that I am on the stance of anti-censorship, which basically means that yes, if Game of Thrones had all of these scenes censored in the story, then yes, it would definitely change the show. It would make it more, I guess you would say, family friendly. However, the world we live in, at any moment, you could see some of the same things that you see in Game of Thrones. Like, you could see beheadings, you could see all sorts of things like this, basically. And so, the main reason why I think watching the show can be beneficial is because it doesn't necessarily desensitize you to the world or things that can be evil or bad in the world, I guess you would say, but it basically shows them in a light that is closer to reality than closer to a fantasized fiction of most Hollywood shows, I guess you would say. And this is also kind of the same stance I have with other very dark anime like Berserk or like Made in Abyss or something like that, is that if it's part of the story, it's better to show it in its full reality of what it is rather than like censoring something or like showing like violence only like part of the violence that is being done, basically. So if a character is going to kill another character and you're like, oh, we're not going to see them getting like stabbed or something, so we're just going to do a close-up of like their reaction and whatnot. Yes, that is important, but it's also important to see exactly what violence is and what the consequences of violence are. And I think that's something Game of Thrones does actually pretty well. We definitely see a lot of consequences to violence in this. Like, we see suffering in this show. Like, a lot of the character deaths in this are very, very, like, graphic. They're very, like, they're very much focused on. They're very much, like, they impact people, which is exactly how it is in real life if a lot of these scenarios would happen, I guess you would say. So yes, I think that Christians can watch this show as long as like you actually have the right mental headspace going into this. It is not at all like basically just the point of this is not the explicit scenes, basically. The point of it is the overall story. The point of it is that it's supposed to be like a reflection of our own world in a way. And so there's many things you can learn from it without actually having to experience them or see them or like try different things, I guess you would say, in real life. There's always like different lessons we can learn from such things as this. Okay, well, now that I'm done ranting, I guess you would say, about some of the themes that I liked in this show, I'm actually going to do a tier list of all the characters and discuss them in more, I guess, spoilery fashion. So this is another chance to click off, I guess you would say, or go see the show for yourself or something like that, or just at least, the very least, look up what happens almost. Um, let's see. These aren't in order of appearance, which I find a little bit annoying because that makes it a little more difficult to talk about characters going through from season 1 to like the last seasons. But I'll do my best to keep it on point, I guess you would say. And starting with that, we are going to start with Brandon Stark. Brandon Stark, aka basically the character who starts all of the conflict almost, basically the catalyst of all the things starting in Game of Thrones, and he actually is a very important character as we get towards the end of the series. And honestly, I think Brandon Stark is both a sad character, but also one of those characters of indifference, I guess you would say, where towards the end of the series, he becomes more so indifferent in terms of his own personal character. He becomes more so just an element of peace moving into the plot, basically. Like, he's here because like time marches forward, basically. So pretty much like he carries with him lots of things from, I guess you would say, the past. I guess you would say. So like he's been through a lot in all the different seasons. He's gone on a journey himself. And in terms of his morals, which is what I'm actually going to be rating this on, I think based on like how much of a role model they are, and how much you could learn from them, I guess you would say. I'm going to put him in like A tier because he does have like solid morals. He's just overall like a good person pretty much. He's not hasn't done anything like egregious. Basically, the main things that he's done is just being detached from other people, which I don't think is necessarily a good thing. But yeah, very very interesting. Unrelated question, but will you ever review the anime Kids on the Slope? It has large amounts of Catholic imagery. Potentially, I'll have to keep that in mind for some point, most likely. But yeah, right now I've got so many different other animes that I've been like not actually catching up on, I guess you would say. So we'll have to see as time goes on. I'm actually probably gonna watch like a Trigun or Vinland Saga at some point pretty soon. So those might take up a lot of my time, my free time, I guess you would say. And then also like I just have so many different editing videos projects that I'm actually gonna be catching up on. Mostly like video essay type videos. Again, I need to make some more of those on some certain topics. But yes, Vinland Saga is very good. I already watched it. Yeah, I've heard it's very good. Like, I'm definitely interested in seeing a lot of what happens in it because it seems like a story that's going to be very much up my alley in terms of what I could actually talk about with Catholicism and whatnot as well. But yes, let's see. Some other characters that show up towards the beginning. I guess we could focus on the main Game of Thrones players, the main people who are playing the Game of Thrones. One of them being Littlefinger is what his nickname is, basically. He's basically a lord, and he's basically part of the King's Landing crew at the beginning. Like, he's an advisor to the king. He's an advisor to the powers that be, I guess you would say. Well, I need to fix my camera real quick. Reset position. There we go. Actually, it wasn't too bad, but yeah, he's one of the main leaders, but he's also behind everyone's backs. He's trying to like take over the kingdom and gain the Iron Throne, pretty much. He also does manipulate a lot of people through the series, which I don't think is a great thing. And yeah, you could say that he does it because of him trying to seek his own ideal and basically having intentions that are like I wouldn't say good necessarily, but not necessarily like evil intentions to start with. His intentions cause him to do very evil things. And so, does he have some redeeming qualities? I guess. Because it's like he does care for people, he does actually try to seek out their ends. He tries to seek out stuff that will like help them be more powerful, but he's helping them be more powerful for himself. And so like he's not the worst role model, but he's not actually that great of one at all. He's not that moral really in terms of how he acts. Um, let's see. Joffrey is a good character. Let's talk about Joffrey. He's basically the first one to sit on the Iron Throne in the show. After we get some, character deaths and whatnot going on, he's basically a very important character through the first, like, I think 3 or 4 seasons, roughly. He's a very important character. So, in terms of how he looks at the world, he looks at it pretty much like, oh, he's the king, so everybody has to do what I say. He's one of those cliche characters where, like, because he's the king, he just expects everything to fall into place and that he can do whatever he wants, basically. He's not a very good role model. He basically is very, very cruel. He's cruel even to basically his own betrothed, causing a lot of things to happen in the show that are just very despicable, I guess you would say. But really, you know what? I'm not even gonna like dance around the spoilers really, cause like, I mean, like I could just dance around the spoilers, but I feel like this show is one of those where like you have to actually know what the character did to actually be able to judge them more so, or know like what they're up to. So basically, Joffrey, he's pretty much the main cause of Sansa Stark's father's death. Where is he? Where is this character? Because he's one of the main ones I really, really want to talk about in depth and not just be like, oh, well, he was a great guy and he did this or that. But I want to actually talk about why Ned Stark is a great character wherever he is. Where is Ned Stark? Where is Ned Stark? Where is Ned Stark? Where could he be? Am I just blind? I'm probably just blind, aren't I? Oh wait, no, that's not Brandon Stark. This is Brandon Stark. Yeah, I'll put them Brandon back there. Yeah. Oh, that was his brother, which I guess his brother would be on the same category. I don't know. I think I'll put Brandon's brother. I forget his name right now because I just do. But yeah, I'll put him there. Let's see. Where is Ned Stark? Where is he? Oh, there he is. He's right here. Ned Stark, aka Boromir himself. Boromir's right here. So yeah, Boromir. He's only present in season 1 because Joffrey kills him. He has him beheaded, and that is not very fun. And what's furthermore, Joffrey does this in front of his children. He does it in front of Sansa. He basically has the opportunity of showing mercy and exiling him, but he instead just beheads him. And the whole reason why Ned Stark was going to be beheaded is because he opposed Joffrey becoming king, because it turns out Joffrey... Oh, how lovely. Exactly. Like basically I'm talking about like season 1 Game of Thrones stuff at the moment. But like there's a lot of stuff that happens later that's even crazier, but yeah, like literally I would recommend like watching the show. I think it's pretty good, but so yeah, Joffrey, he kills Ned Stark, but Joffrey is not actually the king. He is basically born of incest Because guess what? He's got blonde hair. All the children have blonde hair. Of which guy is it? Where is he? King Robert Baratheon was supposed to be his father, supposed to be King Joffrey's father, but he's actually not. Um, where is that guy? Oh, even more lovely. Yes. So where is he? Yeah, like part of the trouble is gonna be just finding all these characters as I'm talking about them, and ranking them. Where is it? Would he be? Where would he be? He's got to be up here somewhere. Oh, there he is. Yeah, basically, Robert Baratheon was one of Ned Stark's closest friends, and they won the previous war, deposing the old tyrannical king. And so yeah, Robert Baratheon, he's a drunk. But I think the main reason why it is because he's been king so long, he has nothing else to do, and he's just become very grumpy, and yeah, and so that he's not a good role model really. I'd put him in C tier. Like he had heroic feats in the past. He wasn't like the worst, but like he also Cersei Lannister, basically his wife at the start of the show, and she is Joffrey's father, or Joffrey's mother, or rather, not father, no, Joffrey's mother. But who is Joffrey's father? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Yeah, like the plot in the show is very complex. But yes, her brother is Joffrey's father, basically. Which is all, yeah. So basically, behind this guy's back, she basically got some blonde kids. And so, yeah, that basically happens. However, both of these characters, I'd say, are different on terms of level of how much I think they're actually good role models, or how much of a moral character they are. Because Cersei's kind of evil, basically. She doesn't care about a lot of characters. She only cares about her children, pretty much, and just outright just doesn't make very good decisions through the whole show. So she's on the same level as Joffrey. She gets people killed. She does all sorts of terrible atrocities. However, her brother, what's his name? What is his name right now? Jeremy Lannister. Jaime Lannister. Basically, I think he doesn't make the best moral decisions, basically mostly in terms of his relationship with his sister and like that kind of stuff. But I think that his character as the show progresses is actually a very good character. And so I'll put him up here. We'll probably talk about him more later. I'll put him in like A tier because I think he's one of the best characters in the show. He's there, like, he has like one of the most amount of screen time as well, so it's very good. But as for Ned Stark, after King Robert Baratheon dies, who was like the first king in the beginning of the show, after he dies, Ned Stark realized that Joffrey is not actually the rightful heir, and so he basically is going to oppose Joffrey. And he has a lot of things set up. He's contacted all the different kingdoms about it. But in spite of this, Joffrey gains the throne pretty much, and he immediately takes action in order to basically throw Ned Stark in prison. He is tortured in prison a long time, given the opportunity to bend the knee and serve the false king. But he does not choose to do that. Instead, he chooses to basically stick to his ideals, and for that, like, even his memory is persecuted and that kind of stuff. And this triggers one of the main things that causes all these wars to go on, which is that the North kingdoms, basically, which is the House of the Wolf, which is where Ned Stark is from, basically they decide to rebel against the crown because they know that he's the false king, basically. And they know that because of Ned Stark and basically all the other characters. And Yeah, so that causes pretty much the main conflict of the first few seasons to ignite. Um, but yes, I think Ned Stark's character overall is very good. He does some things later on as well, or like I guess you would say in the past, but like we find out a lot of the things surrounding him and one of his sons is actually very important to the plot later on, and actually shows his character as a man because he chooses to basically he protects one of the characters from probably a fate that could have been like pretty bad if he had not like taken action and that kind of stuff. So I really think he's one of the best characters in the show in terms of morals and like what you really should aspire to be, I guess you would say. But yes, as for everyone, he's not completely perfect, I guess you would say. But yeah, moving into season 2, basically, or like season 1, season 2, which season 2 is pretty much where the main war between the North and the South type starts to happen, pretty much. Oh gosh. Let's put some like water on me a bit. Yeah, here's where the main battle between the North and the South really starts to happen. Characters that are important for this segment, we have got, let's see, we've got, where is he? Because I knew he was down here before. Where is he? He's not down here. But where is he? Oh, there he is. Tywin Lannister. Basically, he basically is the ruler of House Lannister, and basically he is important in terms of like he's opposed to the North. He's basically fighting the other character who is opposed to him, which is Ned Stark's oldest son. Which, like, I really wish these were in order of appearance. But they're not, sadly, so I'm just having to memorize all of where these characters are, roughly. Yes. Robb Stark. Robb Stark is the son of Ned Stark, and they are both basically in conflict with each other through most of the seasons. They're trying to basically overthrow King's Landing, which is the main castle, overthrow Joffrey, and restore the actual rightful king to power, I guess you would say, which the rightful king would be, where is he? Where is freaking Stannis? I think there's Stannis. So we've got Stannis, we've got Tywin, and we've got Robb Stark, and then we also have Renly Baratheon, which is Stannis' brother. He gets killed off pretty soon, but the main reason why he's in here is because he introduces some other characters to the plot line, mainly being, let's see. Yeah, he mainly introduces some other characters to the plot line, is what he does. We also have Robb Stark's mother and Ned Stark's wife, basically, in here as well, and they are in conflict with Tywin and like Stannis and those type of people. Pretty much, there's like a lot of different conflicts going on, a lot of different characters. Like there's just so many characters. Like there's so much stuff going on. Like I can't really explain everything. But like now that we're at season 2, I think we've got some other characters that show up as well. But yeah, we're gonna let's see. How can I speed things along a little bit? How can I speed things along? Because there's so many characters, this is going to take forever. But yeah, so now we're at the conflict at this point. So these are pretty much all in a conflict with each other. I guess we'll talk about some of the little characters that show up as they become more important later on. But yeah, so they're in conflict. Tywin, he does everything for his family and for his own legacy. Not a very good role model. I put him in all the Lannisters are in D tier basically. Um, yeah, that's funny. Um, yeah, I'll put him in D tier. Like, actually, I'll put him in C tier. Like, he's okay enough. He's honorable somewhat. He's not like uncharitable either. He's got some good moments. Like, he's all right. Like, I don't know. A lot of the characters in this show are. It's hard. They're very gray characters. A lot of them. Some of them have really good stuff going on, which leads me to one of my favorite characters in the show and his introduction. Which, I mean, he is introduced from the start, but he really starts to grow on you as the show goes on. He's basically the most important character in the show, I would say. And that is Tyrion Lannister. He is basically a dwarf. He's almost exiled by his whole family pretty much most of his life. And really, he influences a lot of things in the show. He makes a lot of friends. He brings a lot of people together. He's just S plus tier basically, if not the actual greatest character in the whole show, I would say, in terms of like his morality and everything. Yes, he's not perfect. He's been through some like I guess you would say degenerate childhood type things, I guess you would say, or yes. But as he grew up, basically, towards the end of the Game of Thrones, he's very much one of the wisest and I guess you'd say most pivotal characters, I guess you would say. But pretty much the main conflict between these guys goes on for a good while, between Tywin, all of these. Robb Stark, I think, is a very good character as well. I'd probably put him up high A tier. He's pretty solid overall. Like, he makes some foolish decisions, I guess you would say. Same thing for his mother. I think his mother's probably like lower on here, more so B tier, as you would say. But yeah, Stannis also, like, he sacrifices a lot of people. Yeah, Renly, his brother, yeah, D tier basically, or actually F tier. I don't like him at all. We've got, yeah, but Stannis I think is pretty solid. I'd put him in B tier. He's of course done some like stupid things and sacrificed people, which is just very, very sad. Yeah, like it's all very sad. Let's see. There's just so many characters here. I'm gonna have to like rapid fire most of the main ones, I guess you would say, or once we get to the main end of the conflicts. And then we'll just talk about some of the more good characters, the more bad characters. So yeah, so we're at season 2 right now, roughly. So moving into season 3, like there's other stuff going on. Like we've got Daenerys' whole plot line going on. We've got Daenerys' whole plot line going on. Which, where is she? Where is she? Where is Daenerys? Where is Daenerys Targaryen? Oh, there she is. Okay. So Daenerys, she's basically has her whole point is trying to take over the Seven Kingdoms, basically become the king. And so that's like her whole plot line from season 1 to season 8. That's pretty much what she's up to this whole time. And most of that is taking place offshores, which there's a lot of other characters going on there. In terms of her morals, she's somewhat moral, but she also like sacrifices a lot of people. She burns a lot of things. She kind of is a tyrant as well. She's very utopiastic as well. Like she wants everything to go her way and be perfect, and she doesn't budge on that really. And in fact, that leads to a lot of tragedy and whatnot. So I think she is actually, in terms of morals, she's probably in C tier as well. Like she's, the main flaws with her show up in like season 8 pretty much, which is probably why a lot of people don't like season 8, because it seems like it's different from what she would actually do, but I don't think it is. I think everything she does in season 8 is logical for her character, but it just didn't have enough like screen time or like actual amount of substance. Like season 8, like season 7 and season 8 really should have been over the span of like three like 12 or 3 10 episode seasons basically, instead of 2 8 episode seasons, or 2 6 or 7 episode seasons, whatnot. That it actually was. Like, yes, the episodes are longer, but they don't feel as. It feels more like there's just dead space in a lot of stuff. And a lot of plot points happen really pretty close and fast to the end. But I think it's because there's like less characters at that point in the show that like things just start to happen really. But they could have done better with actually making things feel a little bit slower, I'd say, towards the end. But yeah, I think Daenerys is one of the best characters of the show, but not the most moral. Let's see, we've got... What did you not dislike about the later seasons? The main things I disliked about the later seasons is just that, like, the acting was good all the way through. Like, that's one of the main things as well, is that, like, all of the actors that they chose for each of the characters are very good. There's good quality acting. The main thing I didn't like about the show later on is that, like, it felt like characters almost, like, took actions, like, as reactions rather than, like, they were, like, plotting something, or, like, something was, like, on its way, I guess you would say. And then, like, also, just, like the... Like, Season 8 is pretty okay. Like, Season 8 is good. But, like, the reason why the earlier seasons of this show were so great, in my opinion, is because we didn't know everything about the characters already. But in Season 8, I feel like we already know a lot about each of the characters pretty much. And then, like, things just happen, like, too fast, I guess you would say. Towards the end, almost, which is what it is. But yeah, let's see. Who was I talking about right now? Yeah, Daenerys. Daenerys is an interesting character. She falls into one of those like Messiah type tropes where she basically thinks that she's going to be the ruler over everything, and yeah, that's not necessarily the best for a lot of the people in the show, especially in Game of Thrones. But let's see, season 3 era conflict. Basically, a lot of stuff goes on in here. A lot of stuff goes on in season 3. Let's see. Because, like, this is going to be very, very heavy spoilers, but this guy right here, Walder Frey. There's a whole point in the conflict where Robb Stark is basically trying to get allies. He becomes allies with Walder Frey, who basically ends up backstabbing pretty much they're invited to a wedding, and then this guy, he basically like cuts all their throats at this wedding. So yeah, it's not very good, and he does it all just for his own self basically. I'm putting him in F tier. I think he's really bad. He's a very evil character. But yeah, because he does it for all of his personal gain. But let's see, more characters we could talk about. Season 3 era characters. Yeah, like there's literally so many characters, I don't know how to structure talking about each of them. Like, you can structure it by the seasons, but I've also already skipped over a lot of characters that are introduced and important, I guess you would say. So I guess we'll talk about the Night's Watch characters right now, very much first. So, part of what really happens in Season 1 as well is that Jon Snow, who is the bastard son of Ned Stark, where is he? Yeah, here he is. He's one of the main characters in the whole show as well. He's got good morals as well. He's got a good heart as well. Obviously, he's not necessarily perfect. Um, but yes, very very interesting character. He got banished basically to the Night's Watch. Um, very much the very beginning of the season, and he found it difficult to find respect, I guess you would say, with all the other people there. At the castle basically. So there's a lot of people there. We've got the main commander of that castle, and their whole goal is to watch and make sure that the White Walkers, which are basically zombies from the north, do not like invade the whole kingdom and basically kill everyone, which has almost happened in the past, like thousands of years in the past. Well, let's see. We've got that guy. We've got John's closest friend, basically, through the whole series, Samwell Turley. We have got who else in this? Oh wait, no, that's Stannis. What do I have this guy up there? That's not Stannis. Okay. Some of the characters look oddly similar to each other. Okay, well, where is other characters from the Night's Watch? I think I got all of them. Oh wait, no, I don't. There's one more. Wherever he is. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? There he is. There's just like so much that goes on in the show. It's literally 8 seasons. I'm trying to condense it down into like pretty much nothing. But yeah, these 5 are the main characters that show up in the Night's Watch. Actually, there's another one. Wherever he is. Oh, there he is. This guy, he is one of John's friends as well from the very beginning of the show. He stays there a good while with him. Tragically, he does meet his end in the later seasons, which is very sad. But he does it in a very noble and moral way, I guess you would say. So I'd say he's A tier in morals. Actually, pretty high up here. A tier in morals. I'd put him up. Yeah, I'd put him past Robb Stark. Let's see. We've got Jon Snow. Jon Snow, I'm gonna put in like S tier. He's very good, but I don't think he's the greatest in the show. That I reserve for basically characters that are just overall very, very good in the show. I guess you'd say. So, yeah, I'm happy with how I line that up. Sam is also S tier. He's very good. He's a very good character as well. The commander here. The commander is actually a very good guy as well. I'm gonna put him on high A tier as well. The Aemon Targaryen. He is an exiled Targaryen. He's very old. He's very wise. He's guiding the whole Night's Watch and whatnot. He's very important as well. He pretty much just got exiled. He lived a life. He got exiled pretty much. But I don't know like too much about his morals really. But I guess I'll put him in like A tier. This guy, he is a traitor. He thinks he's not a traitor, but he's so narrow-sighted with, I guess, stuff that goes on in the plot. He focuses more on pride rather than on what should be and ought to be done, basically. He refuses to actually follow Jon Snow's orders later on when Jon Snow becomes captain of the Night's Watch, basically. Refuses to follow his orders, and yeah, basically that ends up with him betraying Jon Snow, and yeah, so I think he's probably D tier in terms of morals as well, like pretty bad, because betrayal is one of the worst like sins of all time, basically, and lots of the characters do that in here. Let's see, I guess. Okay, so season 3, we're done with season 3 roughly. Let's go season 4. So what happens in season 4? Season 4, we get some travels of Lots of different characters. I think this is really where Marine starts to be important. So Daenerys gets basically two advisors here, two people. One who was like a former slave, and he is the leader of um, basically some mercenaries. Yeah, basically she gets like three friends, pretty much. Three people who are following her pretty much at this point. So we've got all of these three, and yeah, so he gets left behind pretty much. Um, he fought for Daenerys pretty much, and Daenerys abandons him. In terms of his morals, he's trying to get by pretty much. I'd put him in B tier. I'd say I put him in B tier. Like he's decent. He's not too terrible. He's not too bad. These other characters, in terms of their morals and just like their moral compass, yeah, I'd say they're both A tier. They both like help out each other basically. They just are decent people to begin with. I would say they were former slaves, and yeah, they became freed by Daenerys Targaryen basically. So I guess there'll be B tier in there as well. Let's see, some other characters we could talk about that are across the ocean. We've got this guy who is actually basically, I viewed him as he was trying to preserve like the slave trade in and like the mercenary stuff for his own personal gain because he wanted to fill his pocketbook. He also briefly was like the spouse of Daenerys, I guess you would say. So he's on here as well. There's another guy as well who, yeah, I think him. This guy also, he wanted to take advantage of Daenerys as well. I think both of them are basically trying to do the same thing just in order to gain more power and become king. Which, that's one of the things that I really despise. But they're doing it for even worse reasons than Littlefinger was doing it for. Because he genuinely wanted to protect Sansa and her mother. But he wanted also his own personal gain. But these two, however, I think they just wanted their own personal gain to begin with. So that puts you down in D tier for me. Yeah, I'll put Joffrey lower. But, well, I mean, I'm keeping him kind of in the order we're talking about him. But yeah, so they're not very good people in my opinion. Let's see. We should talk about who else can we talk about? Who else can we talk about at this point? Yeah, there's just like so many different characters. I guess we'll talk about Arya Stark then next. So Arya Stark, she gets exiled, or she escapes King's Landing after Ned Stark is killed, basically. And she basically sets out on her whole mission of revenge, and yeah, pretty much it's all just revenge, which mirrors another character that wants revenge as well. He was burnt as a child by his brother, and he wants to defeat his brother, basically. Let's see, we've got many other characters as well. Many other characters. There's so many left, and I only have like about an hour left to talk about them. But yeah, so I mean, I can rapid fire through a little bit more, I guess you would say, because like there's different conflicts that happen. But yeah, like these two, Arya is decent in terms of her morals. She's not, she doesn't really seem that moral, really. So I'd put her in B tier, like, She's not she's like amoral more so. She's not like evil necessarily. However, this guy, I think he's more of an S tier. He's like, yeah, like I think he's, well, I'd put him up here. I'd put him up here in A tier. Well, oh, this is also another Night's Watch guy, but I just don't know much about him. Well, I'll put the ones I don't know much, or, well, I'm not really ranking it because they're not quite as important yet till the end. Let's see. Catholic Ninja, welcome to the chat. I'm just starting to realize just how difficult it is to explain Game of Thrones in a way that makes sense with placing all the characters in here. So far, we're like talking about season 4, but I've also like skipped a bunch of stuff that's already happened in the plot. But yeah, obviously, if you've not seen Game of Thrones, either watch it or yeah. I'm trying not to spoil things too much, but I've already talked about some stuff. Oh, well, let's see. Lots of other characters here. A lot of them are minor characters. They're not really too important overall. Some of the major ones as well after... In Season 4, pretty much the main thing that happens is that's where Joffrey... Brienne's a very good character. If you've watched the whole series, then yeah, Brienne's a very good character. Tommen is a king after Joffrey is killed. Joffrey is killed, basically, at Season 4 sometime. So Tommen basically becomes the king after Joffrey. And he's also betrothed to the Tyrell family. So there's the grandmother, there's the daughter, and there's the brother, and I guess the father guy. So there's the grandmother, there's the brother. The brother's gay, and so that's not very moral, and so I'm going to put him down in D tier, because, yeah, he's just not very moral. And yes, he does have a moment later on as the religious type stuff starts going on with the High Sparrow and whatnot. He does repent, I guess you would say, before the end, so like that's commendable, so I will give him some more bonus points for that and put him in C tier. But where is the High Sparrow? The High Sparrow is right here as well. We're going to talk about him in depth as we get to stuff later. But as for the other three Tyrells and Tommen himself, Tommen, I think, is one of those characters where he's just a good person overall, I'd say. He makes some very good decisions. He makes some very poor decisions. He makes some decisions out of despair, I guess you would say, which is not the best way to make decisions, but it's very human and it's very tragic, as this whole series is. But Tommen, I'd say he's probably S tier, I'd say. Like, he's just very good overall. His wife and the daughter of the Tyrells, she is very selfish and very much like posing as a good person, basically. However, I think it's very interesting because the High Sparrow captures her at one point along with Cersei Lannister. Cersei Lannister atones, basically, I'd guess you would say, but she doesn't actually get changed by it and actually just wants revenge after everything. Now, with whatever her name is, I forget it at the moment, but she pretty much atones, I guess, or doesn't need to atone. But like she actually starts to, I think my interpretation is that she realized that following the High Sparrow would be more beneficial for her and just how she is in general, and she can just pretend to know the like different scriptures and whatnot. She can pretend to be like all a good person as she has always done, and that will allow her brother to be safe after he like repents, basically, because he was going to be put on trial and whatnot. But that will also solidify her power along with her husband, King Tommen. And so this stuff happens in like season 5, basically. So Yeah, we're at season 5, season 6, roughly. Do you love Cersei? As a character, she's kind of interesting, but like not very moral. That's why I have her in D tier. So that's why I got her in D tier. But yeah, as for Tommen's wife, yeah, like she takes advantage of people. She lies about like who she is, pretty much, which we all do to a certain extent. We do good things because it benefits us. Um, but like, does she do good things when nobody's looking? Is the main thing. As Christians should, and I don't think she really does. And so I'm gonna put her in C tier. Um, C tier is worse than these because like, yeah, is she worse than her brother? I'm gonna put her like right there with her brother, pretty much. So yeah. As for their parents, the dad right here seems pretty honorable throughout the whole show. Like he's not really doing anything too much except for like greed for power and just like his own pride and whatnot. So like, yeah, he's all right. He's B tier. Never really did anything too crazy. The grandmother is the one who, it basically gets rid of Joffrey. But that also gets blamed on Tyrion Lannister because Tyrion Lannister gets blamed for so many things throughout the show. And even through that, he still is like basically trying to do what is right throughout the most of the things. The main thing that Tyrion does bad, I guess you would say, is that he shoots his own father basically, and he kills his, I guess you would say, lover basically at that point, who basically cheats on him and whatnot. So like, he is somewhat justified. Tyrion is, but yes, he's done some bad things as well. But let's see, where is she? Where is she? Oh, there she is. A character who, at first, I thought was the hope of Tyrion's character turned out to be what drove him to despair and towards murder. Fratricide, yes. So she basically cheats on Tyrion just to gain a better person in terms of who would make her rich and whatnot. Although I do think she did actually like Tyrion, at least enough. Because while she was in King's Landing, she could have just quickly like deferred to other people or like became more powerful, I guess you would say. Who knows? Maybe she had aspirations for the throne as well. I mean, I'll put her in B tier as well. The Tyrell grandmother, like basically she was playing for the throne pretty much, trying to get her own people in power. So I'll put her down here with like Tywin as well. Like they're basically kind of similar as well. They would have, yeah. It's not hard to marry an evil, beautiful woman like Cersei Lannister. The ninja scroll, Ban Shunkai says woman's heart is a depraved one and she's lacking in wisdom and skill of speech. Says woman's heart. Yeah, so I guess I take it what you mean by that is that people will just assume you're good just because you are attractive or look good, I guess you would say. Which, yeah, can be true. Which is basically what, like, the daughter of the Tyrells is like as well. Whew. Let's see, who else do we have to talk about? What other group of people can we talk about? Who else are we going to talk about? This guy, I forget who he is. At the moment. Oh wait, he's the Grand Meister. He's like the at the Old Town Tower. He's the Meister there, and I think he's good. He's got a good heart. He gives Sam a chance, even though he's still like wouldn't make, I guess, the right decision. He made a very cautious decision, but I think he's probably still A tier. Sir Davos basically served King Stannis for a long time, and then he basically, I guess, was alongside Tyrion in a lot of the cases as well. What about Arya's faceless man training? Yeah, I'm gonna talk about them a little bit next as well. Let's see. So Stannis, I really think he also shows his worth many times through this series, so I'm gonna put him up in S tier, probably actually above Jon Snow. He's just a very honorable man. Just very, very honorable, very good morals as well. In fact, like if we're ranking this on morals, I'm gonna put him in S. I am gonna put him in S. Because, like, by the way, this is based on, I guess, just how moral they are, more so. Stannis sacrifices his children to demons. Yes, he does. And that's why he is in B tier. That's why I got him in B tier. Although, like, I do think Stannis is alright. Because, just to think about it, because anybody could be fooled into making sacrifices for what they view as destiny, basically. But yeah, I guess since we're talking about it, we'll talk about the Lord of Light and the Red Woman and whatnot. Because, yeah, like, her character, it's, like, somewhat interesting because she's one of the characters where it's like she has a source of power and we don't necessarily know the full extent of that source of power, really. It definitely seems like it's something that's not necessarily good at all, because like she basically conjures like blood magic basically to kill Renly Baratheon down here for Stannis to win in the battle, pretty much. But yeah, she sacrifices Stannis sacrifices his own daughter, who was just like a very, very good and very innocent child, pretty much. She sacrifices her pretty much, and yeah, she's probably up here in A tier just because we don't know how she would have turned out later on in her life. But just being a child basically makes you good morally for the most part anyway. But yeah, as for her, she makes some very honorable and noble sacrifices towards the end, I guess you would say, in terms of defending like humanity. But she's definitely not, like, she doesn't have any real aspirations other than her destiny as well. I'm like a knight, dude. Stannis had the avenging angel on him from killing that poor sweet girl. Yeah, exactly. And he literally Stannis, he dies like within the episode as well, which it's hilarious. He made the ultimate sacrifice of burning her at the stake, but that did not help him at all because it never would have. But yeah, let's see. Like, there's no god showed how he should be like F tier. How he should be like F tier. If you're referring to Abraham and Isaac, if we're going to compare and contrast the two stories, Abraham and Isaac versus Stannis and his daughter, Abraham was sacrificing Isaac because the Lord commanded it. I think Stannis did like lament it some, but like he was also like numb to it. Like he didn't care. Like he cared more about like victory than he did about his own child. Her own mother has a change of heart, so I'd actually argue she's above Stannis, but like just slightly, because like she gets so caught up with like religion is a very interesting thing in the show, because they do religion from the perspective that most anime does it as well, where it's like people who follow religions are stupid and they can be stupid and like they'll burn their own children alive, or they'll like, yeah, or they'll just follow a High Sparrow guy who actually has a lot of power in the show, which is partially what I think the High Sparrow gains with what he does, basically. I wrote Genesis twice, dude. Abraham only did it because God said so, and he trusted God, but Stannis did it for prosperity and power. Yes, and also because the Red Woman told him that it would gain him prosperity and power. God, when he told Isaac to kill Abraham to kill Isaac, or sacrifice Isaac rather, it was just for the sake of doing it, basically. It was not for like, oh, if you sacrifice Isaac, you will have more children, like, later on, right? That's not really what happens, I don't believe. So there's definitely lots of differences, but a lot of the same situations, kind of. So yeah, I definitely think Stannis is a tragic character that just shows how, like, tragic humans can be when they, like, get caught up in, like, oh, if I sacrifice like marrying or something, then maybe later on I'll have more money. If I sacrifice having a child, if I abort my child, I will have a better life going forward. Abraham did it with great fear and trembling, indeed. And I would argue that Stannis still had, like, some fear and trembling as it was happening, but his resolve was, like, too strong and twisted at that point. And yes, like, because we are twisted by sin, basically, is why we do so many evil things, I guess you would say. Let's see, who other characters are here that we can talk about? Let's talk about Hodor. Oh gosh. No, wait. Okay, good. It saved it. I was about to be like, if that didn't save it, I'm gonna be mad. So yeah, Hodor is a very strong and kind giant, basically. I'm gonna put him up in S tier. He just shows, like, a childlike kindness, even though he is, like, very old and very much like, he's mute. He's been through persecution in his life, pretty much. And he sacrifices himself pretty much. He sacrifices himself in, I think, season 6 or 7, basically, in order for Brandon to live. So I'm going to actually put him up in S tier. I think he's very good moral-wise. And while we're on the subject of what happens beyond the wall, we've got these two characters, which I'd put her down in A tier. Like, she's good. Kind of close to Brandon, almost, I would say, in terms of their morality, almost. But, like, she does, like, leave Brandon, basically, eventually abandon him, which isn't a nice thing to do. But this guy who was, I forget his name, but yeah, like, he basically helped Brandon beyond the wall. He knew that he sacrificed himself so that Brandon can live, which I put him in S tier. I think he's a good character. He showed good judgment in terms of what they should do, why they should head north. Maybe we should talk about how a woman wickedness corrupted Stannis. Yes, like, from very early on, it's evident that, like, yes, when he was more infatuated with her with the Red Woman than he was with his own wife, very much early on, and he trusted her more than he did his own wife. However, I think as time went on, more so, he also started to, like, regret the distance that he had between his wife, and also regret the distance that he had between his own daughter, and that's why he goes so close to his daughter towards the later seasons, basically. So yeah, like, Stannis, I feel like he regrets a lot of the things that he did, which is like how things usually go in life, I guess you would say. But yes, she basically uses witchcraft in order to manipulate Stannis to gain, like, for her, not her own ends, but, like, her perceived ends as, like, what the Lord of Light would will, basically. which is basically viewing a utopia as something that you have to create, or that, like, yeah, things happen for that reason. But yeah, she does have like some redemptive qualities as well as the seasons go on, but I think it's mostly just because she realizes that she was wrong, that her own worldview of, oh, things are going to be according to prophecy, as that turned out to be incorrect pretty much. Well, let's see. Because really, when it comes to like spiritual stuff, I guess you would say the only, like, you can use your logic to predict things and predict outcomes, but when you get into the aspect of like, oh, this will happen because I have a prophecy, or I've had a vision of it, and so it will happen, that's when things can get pretty dicey, because then you're like, oh, I've already seen it, that it will happen, and so even if there's logical things that would be counter to this, we're going to just go ahead with the plan anyway. We're going to go ahead and storm Winterfell anyway, even though we're outnumbered, even though we got like heavily hit with everything and whatnot. And I guess that brings me to Ramsay Bolton, basically a character who is masochistic. He's very pretty bad. Let's see, we're gonna get some more of the characters from that era in here as well. He's just he likes to torture people a lot. He likes to manipulate people. Wait, actually, yeah, the wrong character. I put the wrong character next to Stannis. Wait, who is this? Oh wait, that's the crazy mama from the Vale. This is a crazy mama from the Vale. She's crazy. She's just like, yeah, she's like C tier. I'm gonna put her down here with her. Yeah, that's about where she goes. She's crazy as well. But yeah, Ramsay. I view Ramsay as kind of a tragedy as well. Like he was brought up in a family where like they literally flay people alive and put them on like crosses, pretty much. They flay him alive and whatnot. So of course he was going to turn out to be a torturer, basically. He cares for people, but he cares for them in a different way. He cares for them in a more like messed up kind of way. Like even when like his childhood friend dies later on and whatnot, who was involved with for like quite a bit of time before Sansa was there. Even when she dies, he's like, he feeds her to the dogs. Like he doesn't respect her at all, really. Like, yeah, it's just kind of sad. But like his whole mental stuff, it's all very odd. He's just a very evil character, I guess you would say. But like he's evil because like that's how he turned out, and yeah, nobody stopped him, basically. Which is an example of like how if you just let a child like do whatever they want all the time and tell them that even the consequences that they're facing aren't consequences, and that, oh, the world is relativist, and like, oh, you do what you want to do and I'll do what I want to do, and that kind of stuff, right? That you'll get Ramsay Boltons all the time. That'll happen all the time in life. So yeah, he's a D tier character. Yeah, he's a D tier character. I'm putting him down there. Like I have mercy on his soul a little bit, because it's just very kind of sad, like, because he had to prove himself to his father and whatnot. He wanted to be recognized for his skills and that kind of stuff as well. But like he very much does a lot of evil crap in the whole series. So yeah, he's there. This character as well is down there as well. She's just not a very good person as well. And I think that's partially because she was involved with Ramsay for a long time. Let's see. Now let's talk about some very good characters. Podrick and Brienne of Tarth. Where is she? Brienne of Tarth. Where is she? Where is Brienne of Tarth? There she is. Well, yes, I think both of these characters are very good. They are very, very good. Love your enemies. Maylock, look down the pit, but no one wants to go in. Yeah, exactly. But I guess the whole point of Jesus' death and resurrection, descending into hell and um, taking all the souls that were trapped there, that would follow him back. I guess the whole point of that is that if you are strong enough in your morals and are strong enough in, I guess, knowing what is the like right thing to do, it's like you will basically jump into like bad situations, I guess, which is why Jon Snow is a good character as well, because many times he knows that he's not really interested in the Iron Throne at all. He knows he's not really interested in, like, he has mercy on all the wildlings, that kind of stuff that are north of the wall and whatnot. And he basically goes and saves them from like all the darkness that's going to attack them and whatnot. Yeah. I just learned something. I wanted to talk to priest about how some Protestants who claim to be saints would go to hell with iron rods and beat witches and sorcerers to get grain back. Yeah, there is that false dichotomy as well. Like, because pretty much claiming to be a saint is pride, depending on the situation. Like, if you claim to be a saint, then obviously that's very prideful. Yeah. 1691. Yeah, like, see there's a dichotomy between just punishment, or like enacting justice, and actually enacting justice, in my opinion, because the religious classes, he told you you're a saint before mass. Well, like, in terms of how saint is defined in Catholicism, it's more so just if you fall in the criteria of, we know that like you're saved, basically, is pretty much how that works. So like, if you are Catholic, if you are a Christian, if you have been baptized, stuff like that, and then saints are classified as people who are with God, basically. And they don't necessarily have to be dead, basically, because the saints in heaven aren't like dead either. Yeah, basically just someone who, if they died, would go to heaven, because I guess they already are in heaven to an extent, because they believe in Jesus Christ. And follow him, which is very important as well. It's not just belief, it's about, like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, it's logical that Jesus is real. It's about following him. It's about like knowing who he is at his core. That's like my philosophy on that as well. He didn't understand anything in the Bible barely because he was old. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's sad, but like, it's still one of those things where it's like, there's nothing really that tells you that, like, oh, you have to actually, like, you don't have to be fluent in the Bible to be saved, I guess you would say. But fluent in the Bible is really something that is forward beneficial, I guess you would say. But he said he would go 3 times a year with friends as werewolves to steal grain back when the witches were stealing it. Called themselves the Hounds of God. Interesting. I mean, if you want to send me like a link or something to like that kind of stuff, that'd be interesting. I could research some of that. Sorry for the burp, but yeah, like literally, there's, if you have ever seen the chart of well, no, there's they chart like the swing charts where it's like one side is like the lowest percent, or like, so if you have a chart of like 1 to 100, right? And you have like the first percentile, right? And that's going to be the lowest. Like you might only have one of those people in like centuries or decades or something like that. And then you have the top 100%, same thing. But as you get closer to the center, like you have more people that are like, I guess you would say average, basically, because it's based on averages. So there's like the chart of like people who like are intelligent or are like in or like knowledgeable and that kind of stuff. Maybe you have somebody who could like quote every single verse of the Bible from memory. Maybe they'd be like upper percentage wise, right? But maybe they don't even understand like the Bible. Maybe they just memorize the whole thing. And then you have people who are at the lower end where it's like maybe they don't even remember like a single Bible verse basically, but they go to church and that kind of stuff. They have faith in the Lord, but they just don't understand it. They don't understand it necessarily, but they're trying to understand it. Yeah, it's cool. Just want to pray that witches and sorcerers stop stealing stuff and we can get it back somehow. But I would werewolf skin and martial arts. But I would imitating animals. Yeah, kind of would be. Like it would be like imitating animals, I guess you would say. Um, but as with most moral things, it's like it kind of depends on like what their intent was more so. Yes, very very interesting. But I guess back to the tier list. Like there's a bunch of animals on here. Like there's wolves, there's a cat. I think this is Walter Frey's cat. What's he doing on here? Um, morals. I guess we'll go to where were we talking about last? We were talking about, oh yeah, we were talking about religion and that kind of stuff. The High Sparrow. High Sparrow is very interesting because he falls in the category of he has a lot of wisdom, as I think is demonstrated in here. I don't think he had like aspirations necessarily to gain the Iron Throne, but I think under the surface he secretly wants the Iron Throne more so. However, I do think he is still relatively moral. I guess I'll put him up here. But like it's one of those characters where I don't think the portrayal of like what religion actually is correct with his character entirely. But yeah, Podrick and Brienne of Tarth. Podrick is Brienne's squire basically. Podrick is just a very good character pretty much. He lives a good life. He's honorable. He fights. He's skilled. He's A tier. Brienne of Tarth, S plus tier though. Because the reason behind this is because she stays very honorable through all things. And yeah, she just lives a good life, basically, very honorable, fights for the good reasons, fights for honor in a world where there's not really much honor going on at the moment. She serves Sansa Stark, basically, all sorts of things like that. But yeah, I guess I'm going to rapid fire most of these, because I actually do have to be going within the next, like, I guess you would say 20 minutes, roughly, 30 minutes. Yeah, I've got 20 minutes here. Some of my other favorite characters that I'm gonna put up really high, just in terms of like their moral quality and like their character arcs and how much we can learn from them. Theon Greyjoy. Theon Greyjoy is going to be probably, I'd put him higher. Well, yeah, I'd put him up here in S tier because he's one of those characters where it's like he's done evil stuff. He learned the consequences of them, and that taught him wisdom, basically. And towards the end, he basically sacrifices himself for his family. His true family, which is not just about, like, who your father is, who your mother is, but who are my brothers and sisters. That is the main thing. Everybody is a brother and sister in Christ. So I think he definitely models that very well. He suffers a lot through this show. He lost himself, he regains himself, and he is redeemed basically. So I put him up here as well. I'm actually gonna put him up as he's probably one of my like second favorite characters in the show. I think, in terms of his story basically. Other characters we've got Varys. I want to talk about Varys. Varys is one of those characters where I think he's very interesting as well. We'll talk about Varys and Tyrion Lannister in terms of how they are approaching advising Queen Daenerys, I'd say. Where is he? He's got to be here somewhere. Or did I already put him up there? I didn't think I already put him up here. Varys. Where is he? What? Where's Varys? Because there's a bunch of bald people here, but there's no Varys. Where is Varys? Am I just blind? Oh, there. I'm just blind. Varys. He's probably A tier, I'd say. He does show some good judgment in terms of morals, but he's also served under so many different kings. Yeah, he's just served under so many different kings and whatnot. He's got his own agenda in mind. He says he's serving all the people of the realm. He says he's serving the realm, basically, and somewhat I believe that he does seek, like, peace, but he didn't, towards the end, he didn't seek peace. He sought, like, the better king, basically. He sought someone who would be a better king, which leads him to betrayal, basically. He's just he's a traitor. Like, overall, he's got some good moral qualities. So I don't know. I'll put him in B tier, actually. His intentions are kind of noble, somewhat. I'll put him in A, I guess. Like, he's got good qualities, but in terms of him versus Tyrion, Tyrion is superior to him in terms of how he thinks about things, what decisions he makes more so. Because Tyrion models just war theory, in my opinion. Tyrion pretty much, towards the battle, towards the end, when Daenerys was going to destroy King's Landing, basically, he basically chooses the diplomatic approach of freeing Jaime Lannister and telling him to the Queen to basically try to negotiate a surrender. He basically acts in order in a way that would allow King's Landing to surrender, even though he knew he was going against what his queen would desire, basically. He basically chooses to save, like, innocent people, basically. Or, like, continue a diplomatic approach, knowing that Daenerys was going to destroy King's Landing, basically. And I think that shows, like, exactly the kind of situation that you should act morally in. And that's why I think Tyrion's, like, the greatest in the show, in my opinion. Let's see. Going back to the Faceless Men, there's two of them here. The girl, I think that she is just like she's very much like brought up in the Faceless Men. She's like, okay, like, well, I'm gonna kill Arya because she's going to desert us and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I think she's C tier as well. Probably like C tier, something in here. Yeah, C tier. Like, I just didn't like her character that much. As for the guy, As for the main faceless man guy, he's very much one of those characters where he's just a pawn of, I guess you would say, fate almost. Like he's very much neutral. He's very much like transactional as well, which doesn't necessarily make him evil, but doesn't necessarily make him good either. I'd put him kind of near Arya Stark as well, probably lower, but also higher as well. Um, but still, it's like he kills many innocent people, that kind of stuff. So I will put him actually like. Why do I have him down here? What? Yeah, why do I have him down here? I'm gonna put him up here. Anyway, Rickon Stark. Why is he up there? Why was he down there? I don't know, but like, it's a very interesting thing. But he does take in Arya, but he does try to like get her to become no one, basically. Um, it's a very interesting plot point that goes on in that section. Um, let's see. All these other characters. Bronn of the Blackwater. He's an interesting character as well. Like he's basically just trying to gain like money and fame and whatnot. But like he does listen to reason. He is somewhat moral as well. I think he's just trying to live like life as best as he can almost, which is interesting. He doesn't necessarily do anything necessarily evil, but like the main pursuit is the pursuit of money and wealth. That is what allows him to, I guess, flop his sides a bit throughout the show. But overall, not too bad. Not too bad. I guess I'd put him lower than Varys. I'd say more so. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. There's just so many characters. I guess I'll rapid fire these because I literally just don't have much time left. This guy, he's pretty immoral. He basically steals the throne from the Greyjoys. She is like more moral than Loras. That's about this, but still very lesbian. We got their uncle, the uncle of Theon, and whatever her name was. He is not very moral at all. He basically just wants power. He just wants like all sorts of stuff. I'm gonna put him in D tier. I hated him. I really hated him. He's worse than Ramsay in my opinion, just because of how he views life. Because Ramsay views life in a way that he was brought up into more so. This guy just views life that way because he's just kind of bad. Same thing with like Joffrey. You know what? I'm gonna say I think Ramsay's better than Joffrey. I think Ramsay's a better character than Joffrey. So yeah, I'm gonna put him up there. Let's see. We've got the uncle of the Starks uncle. He's pretty good. I'm gonna put him up here with like Brandon and Rickon, if not more honorable than both of them. If not more honorable than Robb Stark, I'd say. Yeah, I'd put him up here. Let's see. This is another one of their uncles. He's in it for his own gain as well, but I don't think he has necessarily bad intentions. I'm gonna put him up here. The kid, he basically chooses to betray. He wants revenge on Jon Snow for his parents being killed by wildlings. He's a child. He cannot foresee like the subtleties of actually like what the situation was entirely. And yeah, like he saw justice, but he chooses to try and act out that justice or like aid in it being acted out, which I don't think is how Christians should live. They shouldn't aspire to have justice be enacted. They should aspire to show people the better way out of things. So yeah, I'll put him in B. I'll put him down here in B. So it's a sad thing how it happened now. The what's her name? I don't remember, but she's the let's see. She is I forget what their house name is, but she's like the bear's house name. But yeah, I think she's a pretty good character overall. I put her up here. She's got a good compass and whatnot. Oh, Mormonts. Yeah, the Mormonts. And the Night's Watch Commander was a Mormon as well as Jorah, where is Jorah? Because Jorah is another one of my favorite characters in the whole series as well. Where is Jorah? Do you see Jorah Mormont? Oh, I found Jorah Mormont. There he is. Jorah Mormont, you could say that he's S tier. You could say that like he doesn't deserve to be S tier because in the past he like was a slave trader and that kind of stuff and did that kind of stuff, was exiled from his house, but he gets redeemed from all of that. And even while he was exiled from Daenerys' court, he basically claws his way back almost and demonstrates his true actual devotion. He sacrifices himself for his queen. Plus, he just overall makes some very good moral decisions. So I'm going to put him up here as my third favorite, I think. Or actually, no, I think he's my second favorite in the series. Definitely a very good character. Very good morals as he matures as a man, I guess you would say. Let's see. Sansa's also a very important character. I think in her childhood, she struggled with vanity and thinking that she was smarter, more deserving than others. But as time went on, she went through a lot of stuff and realized that like she can't be compromising on what the North needs, I guess you would say, which leads her to conflict towards the end. But the main thing about her character is that she liked power, she liked that kind of stuff to the begin with. But then she realized that she had to actually also earn the power as well, bit with like what she chooses to do. And so like I put her up here, probably an A tier as well. Like she's just a very mature character as time goes on. Yeah, like there's so many of them left. I'm not gonna have time, but some other characters. Dracarys. I think Dracarys is very moral as well. I'm gonna put Dracarys in the S plus tier. I'm gonna put Dracarys up here in S tier because I think he's a great dragon. He's just very loyal. He knows when not to seek revenge, and he's just and he knows how to cause good things to happen for the story. Yes, he does destroy lots of people. However, that was not his decision to destroy them. It was his own loyalty, I guess you would say. Yes, he could act in a more moral method, but it depends on the situation. Because, yeah, it depends on that situation he was in. So I'm going to put him up here in S tier. As for the other dragons, I'm not going to rank them, really, because they don't actually have much screen time. The Night King, in terms of his morality, I guess you would say he falls into where he thinks that he despises the realms of men, or his goal is to destroy them. I think he's more so amoral. He doesn't really fall into anywhere here. He's just a force of destruction in the story. So yeah, I'll put him C tier. He just wants everybody destroyed, I guess you would say. This guy who is whatever his name is, brother, he's C tier as well. He just despises his own brother, so he's C tier. Yeah, not very good. Not very good morals as well. Actually, I'm gonna put him D tier. He's just despicable. This guy, he's morals. He's actually A tier B tier in terms of morals. Yeah, he's B tier in terms of morals. I don't know what to think about him too much. She helped people escape. She's up here. Yeah, she's up here. Yeah, there's just too many characters. We're gonna have to continue this another time. Or, yeah, we'll just have to continue this another time. Or I'll just... Well, there's not really too many important characters left. This guy, he refuses the throne, really. He didn't have aspirations for the Iron Throne. He's up here as well. He's just very good. He's a good character. This guy is a good character as well, if not better. He's interesting. This guy, good character. This guy, good character. There's a lot of good characters. Yeah, not too many other ones. Tormund's very good. Tormund's just a good guy, but I'll put him B tier because, yeah, he's got some stuff where he's a little bit wishy-washy on his morals more so. Yeah, well... there's more characters I can talk about, but I don't necessarily want to talk about them as much. There's just too many characters. Too many characters for the amount of time we've got left. But yeah, I'll put these guys up here. But yes, very, very solid show. I'm glad I watched it. I definitely am going to watch House of the Dragon. I think I'm interested in that. But yeah, thanks so much for stopping by the stream. It's been a good one, and yeah, I will be seeing y'all later and whatnot. So it was a good long stream. Peace be with you, everybody. Yeah, and thanks Catholic Ninja for stopping by and allowing me to learn some more stuff. Yes, it is a Sunday. It is a Sunday. Anyway, adios. I gotta get going now. Like really, really bad. I've got like 20 minutes.